What's up guys, Zio here with the last official video of the NES Season 1. A little sad to be bringing this to a close, to be honest, because I've grown pretty attached to this team. But after losing pretty badly to Danny last week, Super also had a pretty painful loss. I'll be linking his channel down below, but it's a little unfortunate that he wasn't in the finals this year. Luck happens, I guess, but it's still a little unfortunate. But because we both lost, we decided to do a third place consolation game kind of thing. He's been wanting a rematch for me for a while because I got a little lucky against him last time. So we basically just decided to have a third place Consolation Cup kind of thing between us. I don't know if it actually counts or anything, but we just decided to kind of have fun and go with it. So sorry that this team builder is going to be a little bit less edited, I guess, than my other ones, but since this match doesn't really count, I'm kind of just throwing it, well, not throwing a team together, but I'm also not putting quite as much effort into things as I would have if this was like the actual finals, I guess. So for this week I kind of wanted to bring some stuff that either I haven't brought very much this season or at all this season. I kind of wanted to try to push myself to keep building new teams with this roster because I still feel like this roster could probably be used probably for another, like, I mean, I don't really want to estimate, but I feel like there's a lot of combinations with my roster that I still haven't used yet. Pretty proud of this one, to be honest. So I guess before I get into that, let me preview the changes to his roster that he's made since the last time I battled him. I think it was like back in week 5 or week 6 that I battled him, so he was pretty new to the league still, and pretty new to league format in general. But since then, he's picked up Swampert over, I believe, Blastoise. He's used it really well, both offensively and defensively, so I'm actually pretty scared of it this week. Obviously, it's 4 times weakness to grass, normally holds it back, but he has a ton of grass resist, so it actually fits pretty well into his team. If it comes, I have to basically just keep pressuring it out with various things on my team. Otherwise it's just gonna end up like right on last week, where I say I'm gonna pressure it out and then it just does whatever it wants to all week, which is kind of annoying, but whatever. And I believe he did not have Zangoose the last time we battled. I think he dropped Malamar for it. Zangoose is very powerful, and it actually matches up fairly well speed-wise with my team, but I don't really expect it to come because every time we've tried to practice with it, it's honestly just kind of not done the work that it's needed to do. But if you want my opinions on the rest of his team, just go ahead and check out week 5 or week 6 or whatever it is. I definitely have more in-depth stuff with him there, but I feel like I match up fairly well with his team. So I was pretty excited to just kind of bring a fun team that ended up actually doing a little more work in practice than I thought it was going to, I guess. I didn't really practice like I normally do this week because obviously Super Nerd 92 is the guy I practice with, but I did run a lot of calcs and stuff, and kind of practiced against myself for some mechanics that I wasn't really sure about, I guess. So starting off, I have a Swords Dance Mega Absol. Fairly standard, I guess, but I haven't really brought it very much this season, so I don't really think he's going to expect it. I've normally played fairly passively with my Absol, normally running Protect or only bringing it in on a Sucker Punch, but this time I plan to be a little bit more aggressive with it, and basically it's either going to die right away or it's going to get a couple kills pretty much. Between Sucker Punch, Knockoff, and Iron Tail, I actually hit everything on his team for at least neutral damage, if not super effective damage. I do not like running Iron Tail, if I'm being perfectly honest, because it's only 75% accurate, but I needed something to hit Florges, and Absol doesn't get like Poison Jab or anything like that, so I was forced to run Iron Tail. And the speed allows me to outspeed anything on his team that's not Scarfed, pretty much. So along the lines of trying to bring stuff that I haven't brought before, I've had this sitting in my back pocket basically all season and never really had a matchup for it. But Scrappy Curse this week actually can put in a ton of work against Super's team, and I'm really excited to potentially bring it out. Basically, if you don't know what Curse does, it's a move that actually works differently if you're a Ghost type or if you're any other type. If you're a Ghost type, it basically cuts your HP, I think, in a quarter and does like a quarters of HP worth of damage to your opponent every turn. So it's kind of like a super toxic, but you kind of have to pay your own HP for it. But everything else, it's a setup move, which is kind of weird, where you basically get +1 attack, +1 defense for your speed being a little bit lowered. Which also kind of helps explain the EV spread that I have this week, where I'm not really investing in speed, even though it would be nice to. I'm going to be losing speed from curse setups anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And the only thing on his team that actually resists normal is Gengar, who's immune to it normally, but because I have Scrappy, it doesn't matter. And Mega Scizor, who just gets destroyed by a +2 Fire Punch, like I think any variant of Scizor dies to +2, so if I can get a setup, I should be able to sweep fairly easily. And Milk Drink's just there for passive recovery. I really wanted to also put on Heal Bell and just go mono attacking and just not bring this thing out until Scizor's dead or gone, pretty much. But I didn't want to risk that because I didn't want to be in a situation where Scizor was alive in the end of the game and I couldn't do anything to it, pretty much. So I planned pretty heavily for that, I guess. After developing the first two mons of this, I guess, I realized that I needed some kind of like guaranteed lead for me, I guess. Super's been fairly predictable with his leads, which I know, and I know that he knows, so I expect him to actually be kind of weird with his leads this week. But if he's the same kind of, or if he leads the same way that he has all season, he's either going to be leading Landorus T or potentially Electros, I guess, for a Slowbolt switch, or Swampert for rocks. Either way, basically, I plan on leading Esselgor 100% of the time, and 90% of the time I'm going to go for Final Gambit right off. If he ends up having a team that looks fairly resistant to it, or if he leads with something I suspect could be Focus Sashed, I probably won't go for it. Because Yan Baton's Pass and Spikes are basically just there, like, just cuz, to be honest. I pretty much expect to go for Final Gambit 100% of the time. But with a Choice Scarf and 116 in speed, I literally outspeed anything that he could have on his team. Unless it's a setup to +2, I think, but I don't think he actually gets, like, I don't think Tornadus gets agility. Landorus T Dual Dance could potentially outspeed me, but since I'm leading with this thing, I guess it doesn't really matter anyway. So, never mind. Next up, I decided to bring offensive Vaporeon again. I'm a little bit mixed about this, because normally I like to have Vaporeon as my wall and just kind of absorb hits, and I know that that actually matches up very well against Super. But after I did my weakness scouting and stuff that I like to do, I realized that Water, Ice, or between Water and Ice, those were his two biggest, most common weaknesses. Shadow Ball is a neutral hit to at least everything on his team. And HP Grass is there to be able to 2-hit KO Swampert easier. I could have gone for Scald and just tried to fish for a Scald Burn, I guess, but I wanted a reliable 2-hit KO. So I just decided to do that instead. And the speed investment allows me, I believe, to outspeed defensive Landorus T to be able to OHKO it. I don't think that he'll expect such an offensive Vaporeon against him, just because he's seen all season how fat Vaporeon is, and I haven't really shown offensive Vaporeon too much. Like, I brought it a couple of weeks, but even the weeks that I brought it, I didn't really get to show it off, I guess. So fingers crossed that Vaporeon can actually do something this week, because that would be nice. Next up, we have something that ended up actually hurting his team quite a lot, so I know he's going to prepare for my Nidoking a lot. But frankly, I'm going to bring it anyway, because first of all, Nidoking has not come to the playoffs this season yet, and with how important of a member it was to my team, I felt like I kind of had to. And it actually just matches up pretty well. to be perfectly honest. I needed to bring Stealth Rocks this week because Tornado Sai gets hurt by it. I guess Tornado Sai and Mag Mortar are really the only thing that takes super effective from it. But nothing else really like appreciates rocks, and he's in a similar situation to me where his Scizor is his only form of hazard removal, and if he sets up rocks, I don't think he's really going to want to remove them. So my plan is for this to actually be my backup lead to Selgor. Basically, I plan on leading a Selgor, having it final gambit and kill something, and then leading Nidoking to be able to get the rocks up. Shuko Berry is the berry that weakens super effective ground type attacks. So if Swampert's in against me and goes for an EQ, or even an Earth Power, I guess, or a bunch of things on his team get Earthquake, Landorus T2, obviously. But I should be able to stay in and either get the rocks up or fire back with a super effective hit of some kind. Flamethrower is there for Scizor, obviously. So yeah, that's this Nidoking, I guess. Made to outspeed... Don't remember off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it's made to outspeed max speed, but not max speed Jolly Landorus. I expect it to honestly be a pretty offensive Landorus this week rather than defensive, just because I've said time and time again how much offensive ground flying types hurt this team. Luckily there's not too many of them, but Super's been paying attention, so I expect an offensive one. And finally we have a pretty weird clamp set. It just kind of happened that this team was a little bit more weak, especially defensively, than I would have liked. And I had an extra move and no item to really give Scizor at this point. So I decided, why not give Light Screen Light Clay? Light Clay is an item that increases Light Screen's effectiveness from 5 turns to 8 turns. And I guess if you don't know, Light Screen is a move that makes it so damage is halved from special attacks. So basically the only thing that can really kill Scizor on his team is a Flamethrower from Magmortar, a Flamethrower from Gengar, an HP Fire from something like Florges or something, or a neutral hit physically. So basically I should be able to live anything, any one hit, and get a Light Screen up, and that will help not only Scizor but the rest of my team to be able to sweep. Ideally, I set Light Clay up and you turn into Melissa or Mega Skrillex or something. Don't take a lot of damage, and then I'm able to set up and sweep, or at least get a decent amount of damage off on his team. But yeah, that's this weird team. It actually worked a little bit better in practice than I expected it to. I was mainly just trying to challenge myself and make a weird team that he wouldn't expect. Because we both kind of promised each other that we'd make weird teams this week. The game doesn't count anyway, so we might as well have fun with our teams while we can, I guess. So yeah, I'll be battling him soon, and try to get that up soon, I guess. So stay tuned. See you guys later. Bye.